A mist of concern settled over me. I had purchased 6 CDs, and they were all 5 to 15 years old. There were no new, or even relatively new, releases that compared to the 6 that I had bought. Current music bored me. None of it seemed to me to be as edgy or as meaningful or even as good as the music I heard when I was in high school. I sat staring at the cover of Public Enemy's Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black, wondering if I was getting old. Despite its catchy, foot-tapping riff, I never wanted, and still don't for that matter, to feel like the sentiment behind Bruce Springsteen's glory days. I want to always be on top of my summer of '69, with another one right around the corner. Those songs always seem to be the sentiment of sediment that has settled to the bottom of a placid lake, looking up, remembering bathing in the warm sunlight above. A few nights later, I dreamed of a place long gone that I had frequented as a child. Stan's. It was a corner store at 34th and Payne. When I was a little boy, my parents would drop me off at my grandparents' house on East 34th early in the morning, and they'd go off to work. My father at the juvenile court, and my mother at MA Construction, which, incidentally, was on the other corner of East 34th and Payne. My grandfather would leave for work, and my grandmother and I would begin a long day of shopping. In the early morning sunshine, there was a smell of industry in that neighborhood, burning rubber or something that to me smelled of severely burnt toast. To this day, while that smell might sicken some, it excites me, makes me feel alive, like something new is around the corner. Grandma walked me up the street to Stan's. There were fresh donuts in the window, and my godmother, Aunt Karen, worked there. I don't know what kind of perfume she wore then, but I hope it comes back into style, and I hope I fall in love with a girl that wears it. There were Cokes in the cooler, one of the last times you could find it in thick glass bottles. There were racks of bread in the middle, a counter with stools for a soda fountain, the deli case, and the counter that Stan stood behind, where he'd greet me with a smile and a wave. Penny candy that by 1977-78 cost closer to a nickel, and ice cream coolers in the Coupe de Gracie, the comic book rack. Donald Duck, Archie, Action Comics, Superman, all on cheap newspaper and only 15 cents each. Eventually we'd leave with a bag of candy and a comic book. Life was good. Sometimes we'd stop at my mom's work to show her what I got. More people, my mother's employers, would coo over me. And then we were off, back to my grandma's briefly, and then we'd catch a bus and go downtown. Downtown. Higbee's, the May Company, the Terminal Tower. There was Kresge's, a 5 and dime, and Woolworth's with its lunch counter and toy department downstairs, an action figure or two, perhaps a toy car, a hot dog at the lunch counter, and then a walk through all 3 arcades, when they all contained shops of interest. Then it was time to go home. I was a terrible child. I would make my grandmother walk the long way around Public Square simply to avoid the Hare Krishnas. They scared me. Years later, when Burke Breathitt did his prayer pimples for Harry Fishnut's strip in Bloom County, I laughed myself silly. Back at Grandma's, Bob Barker still had brown hair and a microphone that reminded me of the hard powder lollipops that I had bought at Stan's. I'd watch The Price is Right. I'd crawl around behind her furniture and build forts using blankets on the couch cushions. By 5 o'clock or so, my parents would leave work and come to Grandma's house for dinner. There were reruns of the 50s television show Superman to drag me away from, to eat fried chicken and mashed potatoes and corn. I'd finish dinner and brush my teeth, then show my grandfather how clean they were and offer him my bicep to squeeze to show him how strong the dinner had made me. Then my parents would take me home where I, exhausted, would sleep and await tomorrow. Stan's is gone now, knocked down to make way for Dave's grocery store to expand to the size of a Finest. M.A. Construction moved, and a dollar store occupies its place. Higbee's is Dillard's and May Company is Kaufman's, or is it the other way around? Doesn't matter. The Terminal Tower is now Tower City, and my grandfather's gone now too. Comic books, well, let's just say they cost a lot more than 15 cents. And my 3-year-old has no idea of penny candy. I don't care much for progress. It robs me of a lot of things that make up so many fond memories.